Chapter 47. Yang Chen's words were like a spark falling into a barrel of gunpowder. The entire hall's men and women all revealed wrathful looks. This brat is tired of living. Don't think that nobody here dares to touch you just because you have some skills. A man with a large physique threw down the poker cards in his hand, furiously raised his clenched fist and dashed at Yang Chen. Yang Chen didn't even lift his eyebrows. He fished for a cigarette in his clothes with one hand, while the other casually moved to block the fist swung at him. Abruptly, Yang Chen's claw-shaped hand rapidly moved, and before that large fist landed, the man's wrist was tightly grasped. With a slight turn of the wrist, in the blink of an eye, the man's hand changed forms just like twisted churros. OWWW. The man cried in pain, and fell to the ground holding onto his hand. The bones in his arm were completely dislocated, and he was in so much pain that he had cold sweat all over. The rest of the hoodlums, who originally planned to charge in and beat Yang Chen to a pulp, saw this dramatic reversal, and couldn't help but stop their legs and hesitate. They were afraid of losing face, but were even more afraid of pain. After Yang Chen lit up a cigarette, and enjoyed a puff. The crowd of men and women who were just hooting now revealed bewildered and irresolute expressions as they carefully observed at Yang Chen. They didn't press forward but also didn't retreat. Those who become well-known gangsters are mostly those who don't care much about their face. It seems like you people can only be considered intern gangsters, and haven't become true gangsters. Yang Chen sneered, then picked up the document folder. Your boasting abilities are much stronger than your fighting abilities. I don't know what the people you late previously sent for public relations were like, but I think there's a little difference between me and them. After finishing, Yang Chen turned around and continued walking towards the manager's office. This mister has great skill, but you came into my office, yet treated my subordinates like this. It is indeed difficult for me, this Guo, to swallow. A hoarse male voice was heard coming from the manager's office. Slowly, a mature middle-aged man who had a sharp face and wore an ash-colored suit and shiny leather shoes walked out. Boss. This group of gangsters, who had lost their vigor previously, began shouting once again upon the appearance of this man, as if this man could bring back all the face they had lost. Yang Chen looked at the man with interest, his side-parting hairstyle, Armani suit, Louis Vuitton leather belt, and Pierre Cardin leather shoes, they all fit well with that calm and prideful look only successful people possessed. No matter from what angle, he looked like a big company's manager, and not the leader of these hoodlums, or the main boss of a dummy corporation. No wonder Yu Lei suffered a loss. It turns out that there was a secret boss. Yang Chen snickered in his heart. Mr. Debt Chaser sent from Yu Lei International, your actions makes things difficult for this Guo. What do you think is the best way to manage this situation? Boss Guo revealed a nefarious smile, looking resolute yet indifferent, like an old-school gentleman from the West. Yang Chen looked. These expensive apparel of yours are pretty good. You must have cheated quite a large sum of money. I've never cheated money. Without strength, no matter how you cheat, nobody will give you money. I am from the school of strength, not the school of idols. Guo Ziyang appeared to be entertained. Yang Chen flicked away the cigarette ash and said, the way you act arrogant has even greater prospects than me. I can at most win a Golden Horse Award, while you can already win an Oscar. TL, the Golden Horse Film Festival and Awards is a film festival and awards ceremony held annually in Taiwan. Oh. Guo Ziyang coldly laughed and said, but why do I feel that this mister is the one from the school of idols? And how did you figure that out? Yang Chen laughed as he asked. What I see is a fool, one who totally doesn't understand what he is doing, a blockhead with the same amount of self-confidence as a retard, said Guo Ziyang, as he suddenly took off his Armani suit jacket, revealing his white Gucci dress shirt. Witnessing this scene, the rowdy men and women in the hall all began shouting, yelling at the top of their lungs for Boss Guo to put down this arrogant brat. Guo Ziyang signaled everybody in the hall to keep quiet. With some arrogance on his face, he lightly stretched his muscles. It was as if the muscles in that dress shirt were alive as it bulged out, and cracking sounds emitted from his bones. Yo, you're even an action movie star. Yang Chen was merry. Quite a lot of effort was spent on sculpting that body. With those muscles you can even enter a male beauty contest, and qualify to live off rich women. You are courting death. Yang Chen sighed, I advise you to put on your clothes and return the money. I don't really want to make a move, someone from the school of idols like you also need to keep up with appearances, right? Guo Xiong was finally furious, he suddenly took a big stride charging forward. Sure enough, a body full of strong muscles was not just for show. After Guo Xiong rushed till he was 2/3 of a meter from Yang Chen, then he threw a roundhouse kick at lightning speed. He most likely had learned a mixed martial art of some sort. Guo Xiong's movements were extremely proficient, with ample strength. This kick brought forth a gale, which directly blew all the documents on the surrounding tables into midair. Under the circumstances where everybody didn't know where the kick was going to land, unbeknownst to anybody, Yang Chen suddenly moved his left hand to guard the position slightly below his chest. Bam! Unlike how everybody present thought, Yang Chen was not sent flying by that kick. Instead, they saw the leg of Guo Xiong tightly caught by the ankle in Yang Chen's left hand, exactly at an inch below Yang Chen's chest, unable to move an inch forward. The accuracy is not bad, just a bit slow, said Yang Chen as if he was evaluating a student's performance. Guo Xiong was terrified inside. His mixed martial arts standard was unlike those plays on television where they casually swing about, it was real abilities honed by taking lives in underground fights. The power and speed of that kick of his was something he understood clearly. There had never been a person who could subdue it like this, blocking his attack as if it was a child playing house. The intense feeling of humiliation made Guo Xiong's heart irritable, and his face was purplish red as he fiercely said, "Let go." That's right. He was simply unable to break his leg free from Yang Chen's grasp. How can this man be so ridiculously strong? You return the money, and I will let go. Yang Chen casually smiled and said. A trace of severity flashed across Guo Xiong's eyes. I have to return to my office to retrieve my checkbook. That is obedient of you. Yang Chen nodded, then released the grip on Guo Xiong's leg. Everybody present were incomparably shocked. They simply couldn't believe that the boss who in their hearts can never fail would suddenly lose at the hands of this plain and average-looking young man. The bunch of men and women couldn't help but begin retreating to the elevator's entrance. After Guo Xiong took an unresigned look at Yang Chen, he slowly returned to his office. In no more than a minute, he once again walked out. You will regret the decision you made today. I, Guo Xiong, have never lost, therefore, today you must die. Guo Xiong slowly walked out of his office. That handsome face of his had a hazy look cast on his face, and madness in his eyes. Surprisingly, in his hands was a loaded rifle. The deep dark muzzle was pointed directly at Yang Chen's forehead. Chapter 48. Yang Chen laughed. He truly couldn't resist from laughing again. It was unexpected, that just as a gun was pointed at him by somebody yesterday, there's another person pointing a gun at him again today. In Huasha, where gun control are incomparably strict, the number of guns that appeared seemed to be even more than when he was overseas. Manager Guo, could it be that you don't know that this gun is used for hunting in America? Why are you pointing it at me? I'm not a moose, and also not a black bear. Guo Xiong took it as Yang Chen being afraid. He coldly laughed and said, in my eyes, right now you're merely a rabbit for me to slaughter. You can't possibly think that within this 4 to 5 meters distance, I'm not even able to hit you with this long-range gun, right? The corners of Yang Chen's mouth rose as he unhesitantly took a step forward. What do you think? Don't move. If you take one more step forward I will shoot. A drop of cold sweat flowed down Guo Xiong's cheek as he loudly roared. Yang Chen ignored him, and took another step forward. I am standing right here, the gun is in your hands, the gun is loaded. You are directly facing me. What you should do, and what you can do, are all for you to decide. Yang Chen carelessly threw the cigarette he finished smoking onto the ground, stamped on it to put it out, then continued walking forward. Every step stirred the hearts of everybody present, like thunderclaps in their heart. Each and every step Yang Chen took, it was as if their hearts were drums being drummed on. It was so silent that if a pin dropped everybody could hear it. It was as if all the air had been drawn out in this short period of time. In the entire office hall, there was only the sound of Yang Chen's slow and well-balanced footsteps. A mere 4 to 5 meters distance, a path of merely 6 or 7 steps, but everybody had their hearts leaping up to their throats, while blankly staring at them. Even the 2 men on the ground who were easily knocked down by Yang Chen, were in pain but held their breaths watching this scene. Guo Xiang's finger only needed to lightly pull the trigger for a violent bullet to tear through that human body of flesh and blood. Yang Chen's expression was indifferent, there wasn't much difference compared to going towards a person to shake their hands. His eyes were so insipid, as if the moment of life and death in front of his eyes didn't exist. In actuality, only 3 seconds went by as all these happened. When Yang Chen walked right in front of Guo Xiang's face was already deathly pale, with a head covered in cold sweat, and a numb expression. In this world there are 2 types of people who are the scariest, the first one, lunatics. The second, people who aren't afraid of death. The reason why lunatics are scary, is because they might not fear death. I'm not even afraid of death, do you think there's a point pointing a gun at me? Yang Chen lightly smiled, and very easily seized the rifle in Guo Xiang's hands. Guo Xiang simply forgot to resist. Ka-cha. Yang Chen casually made a braking motion with his hands, and the rifle made of metal, snapped into pieces, just like a reed. This scene and sound pulled everybody back to reality, with their hearts trembling in fear. Isn't this the kind of scene that only exists in Hollywood movies? This person. Is he Superman? He even broke a rifle. Flinging away the broken rifle to the side, Yang Chen dusted his hands, and with a smile that didn't seem like a smile he said, Boss Guo, this time can you go and retrieve the checkbook for real? Like his soul had returned, Guo Xiang's whole body trembled as he gazed upon the young man smiling at him with an expression of looking at a monster. Since he started his career, he had met fierce ones, but he truly haven't met one that doesn't care about living. The thing that was scarier was this young man's expression, which seemed to be faintly telling him, even if he pulled the trigger, there was still nothing he could do to him. How can it be? There truly is someone in this world who isn't afraid of bullets. If you want money there isn't any, if you want a life there is one here. Guo Xiang said this fierce line, he wanted to maintain that final bit of dignity as an underworld boss. TCH, Yang Chen shook his head in pity, why are you unable to get things straight? If you really could beat me, you would have pulled the trigger earlier. You don't even have the guts to pull the trigger, which proves that you are still afraid of death. You can't beat me, don't force me to do some things I haven't done in a long time. I admit that you are better at fighting than me, you also have big guts, but I just won't give you money. Guo Xiang abruptly slammed on the table, yelling with a sinister face. Then don't blame me, my temper has already turned a lot warmer than before. Yang Chen revealed a strange smile with a momentary excitement, his body moved at lightning speed to Guo Xiang's back. At the same time, Yang Chen fiercely put strength into his hands, grabbing Guo Xiang by his upper arms at a speed that Guo Xiang simply couldn't react to. He sent one kick onto Guo Xiang's ankle, causing Guo Xiang to stagger and kneel on the ground. Crack. One could only hear the sounds of bones breaking, and Guo Xiang's pained roar, his 2 arms were unexpectedly dislocated from the shoulders. One of Yang Chen's legs stepped on Guo Xiang's calf, forcing him to stay kneeling without any method of getting up, and able to only unceasingly move his waist. In the end, Yang Chen's leg stepped with more strength, causing Guo Xiang to be too afraid to make the slightest bit of movement. What did you do to my arms? Guo Xiang bared his teeth in pain, and stared at Yang Chen with bloodshot eyes. Nothing much, I just made your arms dislocate from your shoulders. Yang Chen happily replied. You think I will give you the money and admit defeat just from this? Impossible. Guo Xiang loudly proclaimed, while his other subordinates were all frightened to the point they were trembling and too afraid to move. They watched their boss get beaten till he knelt, yet didn't dare step forward. They came here to be bullies, not to throw their lives away. Yang Chen shook his finger, you're wrong, this is only the beginning, how can I possibly only do this one thing to you? The moment he said that, Yang Chen once again grabbed hold of Guo Xiang's arms. Crack crack. Ah! Another blood-curdling scream came from Guo Xiang, what did you do now? Crack crack. Immediately followed was again the sound of joints being dislocated. Yang Chen showed a satisfied smile, nothing much, I just dislocated your arm, then put it back, dislocated it again, put it back, then dislocated it again, I did it a few times to practice, I feel like I have slowed down some. I reckon that you are in pain, don't worry, I just need to practice a few more times and you won't feel much pain anymore. Demon. This man is a demon. Guo Ziong completely crumbled. He knew that if this went on, he won't die, but might suffer more than dying. This is what they mean by wishing for death while alive. The pain from his hands and leg bore their way into his heart. His brain nearly went into shock a few times, yet he was pulled back by the unbearable pain. I will pay. When Yang Chen once again put the joints of his arms back in place, Guo Ziong truly couldn't endure any more. Guo Ziong's lips were already turning green, his voice brought with it a slight crying sound. That's right, he cried, he had tears flowing, he felt humiliation, he felt unresigned, but more importantly, he felt pain. This is the way it should be. Yang Chen released Guo Ziong's arms with satisfaction, with a hee-hee laugh, still maintaining that harmless expression, as he said, however, Manager Guo, in view of the series of harm you dealt towards our company, I feel that other than the balance of 400,000, you should compensate me for the trauma I received mentally. Oh right, since the money has been owed for such a long time, it should be returned with interest or something. At the same time it would be good to reimburse the medical expenses of those you and your goons hurt before, don't you think so? You. You aren't giving. Fine. Then we shall continue. No. I give. I will give whatever you want. Guo Ziong shouted, with snivel and tears. Yang Chen grinned, pulled a chair over and sat down, and said to Guo Ziong who was crying on the floor, since you are giving whatever I want, then hurry up and write the check, it would be good for me to report that back. Oh right, book a car to send me back to Yulei International, I didn't bring enough change to take a taxi. Chapter 49. Upon returning back to Yulei International from Huacheng Gangster Company, it was already 4 in the afternoon, and approaching the time to get off work. Yang Chen was in a fantastic mood, disregarding the exercise, he even earned some allowance, he no longer had to worry about the money needed to buy breakfast for the ladies in office. Right after he got out of the elevator, he walked through the hallway towards the PR department. This hallway was built using reinforced glass. The transparency allowed the gentle orange radiance of the setting sun to fall upon every nook and cranny inside. This made the hallway exude an aura of warmth, beauty, and peace. Right at this moment, a scene in front made Yang Chen suddenly stop in his tracks. It was a man and woman. The man should belong to the higher management in the company. He wore a white business shirt and suit pants, and he had a seemingly fat figure with an already bald head. He wasn't tall, but had a clean appearance, and a pair of small eyes. Yang Chen remembered seeing this person during lunch time, so he knew that this person was a department head level person. As for the woman, he could recognize her merely from the rear view. She wore a light purple outfit, and dyed her hair with streaks of purplish red, along with that graceful and well-developed curves. This was precisely Lu Mingyu from his office. Department head Ma, I really have something on today. We can go another time when there's a chance. At this moment, Lu Mingyu's face was a little pained, as she forcefully smiled and said. The one addressed as department head Ma smiled with deep meaning as he said, Oh, Mingyu, you have already rejected my invitation more than 10 times consecutively. What? Is it so hard to have a drink with an old man like me? Or do you simply look down upon me, this Ma? That's not it, department head Ma. Lu Mingyu eyebrows creased, I really have something on, tomorrow I still have to negotiate with a client, I honestly have no time. Department head Ma's smiling face gradually faded away, and he spoke with some coldness, Lu Mingyu, you better not fail to appreciate kindness. Don't think that I'm unaware of the rotten things you did with those clients of yours. In the whole company about 70 to 80% knows, what are you pretending to be pure and virtuous for? Department head Ma, Lu Mingyu's eyes turned a little moist, but she still resolutely endured, with her voice clearly turning cold she said, Department head Ma, please do not spout nonsense. Rumors and slanders cannot decide what kind of person I truly am. Haha, number 1 in performance every year, you think everybody is too stupid to see. You are a flower in our PR department that only lets outsiders pluck, Lu Mingyu, you are being too stingy. Department head Ma revealed a wretched smile, be at ease, if you go for a drink with me, I won't treat you unfairly. The end-of-year bonuses and whatnot can be discussed. Department head Ma, please take note of your image. Lu Mingyu turned her head away, seemingly unwilling to speak more, pain was shown on her charming pretty face. Department head Ma wanted to say something more, yet suddenly felt that someone tapped his shoulder from behind. Who? Displeased, department head Ma turned around, and saw an unfamiliar young man giving him a strange smile. Who are you? Department head Ma's heart shivered, and he asked carefully. Yang Chen roughly understood the situation by listening to their conversation nearby. At this moment he didn't have a favorable impression of this fat old man that had no skills in picking up girls. Hearing the question, he only smiled and said, "Hi Department Head Ma, I am the PR department's new male employee, my name is Yang Chen." Male employee. Department Head Ma revealed a pondering expression. What are you doing here, what did you hear? Oh, I was just coincidentally passing by, hearing Department Head Ma discuss with Big Sis Mingyu about going out to play at night. I wanted to ask if I could join. Department Head Ma, you might not know this, but I am very familiar with the brothels around here. With that said, he even winked at Department Head Ma. Department Head Ma's eye twitched. Brat, you want to threaten me? Do you know who I am? Just what did you hear? If you have no evidence, speak drivel and I will personally fire you. Seeing Yang Chen appear, Lu Mingyu at first felt a little happy inside, but when she saw Department Head Ma grilling Yang Chen, she was worried about him, and constantly tried to hint at Yang Chen to quickly leave. Yang Chen naturally wouldn't just leave. He drew out his phone with a smile, shook it and said, Department Head Ma, you should be aware that phones are now very advanced. Not only can they record voices, they can also do it really clearly. With that, Department Head Ma's face immediately turned ugly. Clenching his teeth he said, what do you want? I don't want anything, depending on Department Head Ma's attitude in cooperating. Pretend that nothing happened, then I shall do the same, and everybody will be safe and sound. Yang Chen indifferently spoke, if Department Head Ma wants to deal with me, then I'm sorry to say that it will be a life and death struggle. But I think, for a small employee and Department Head Ma to mutually self-destruct, Department Head Ma would be the one who loses more for sure. Department Head Ma had never experienced this kind of blackmail before, and almost fainted from anger. After saying the word, good, thrice consecutively, he fiercely glared at Yang Chen and Lu Mingyu, then left the scene in a rage. Lu Mingyu sighed in relief as she patted her chest. Those plump breasts of hers shook a little, causing Yang Chen to stare blankly. Unhappily rolling her eyes at Yang Chen, Lu Mingyu also wasn't shy. Hey, stop staring, your eyeballs are falling out. Hee, Big Sis Mingyu's figure is really good. Yang Chen honestly commended. Lu Mingyu's pretty face blushed, and she playfully said, it is unexpected that you can be so quick-witted, and even know to record with your phone, otherwise I really wouldn't know what to do. Department Head Ma is a senior in the company, and also the finance department's head. Not many people dare to go head-to-head with him in Yulei. Yang Chen didn't seem to mind as he laughed and showed the cellphone's display to Lu Mingyu. Lu Mingyu stared blankly, then immediately laughed to the point her body shook. Spoiled brat. So you were fooling him. This shows that he is really stupid. He didn't even check if he was really recorded. His skills in picking up girls was so bad, his brain definitely can't be any good either. Said Yang Chen as if this was to be expected. Once the discussion was over, the two stood in the empty hallway with an awkward atmosphere. Lu Mingyu stayed silent for a while, then lowered her head and said, Yang Chen, can I trouble you with something? Speak. Yang Chen could roughly guess what it was about. Don't spread what happened here today, just treat it as if nothing happened. Actually you don't have to be like this, getting harassed often isn't a good thing, why not think of a way to deal with that Department Head Ma? In his heart, Yang Chen considered whether to inform his wife Lin Ruoxi. Although that girl liked acting cold, she can't possibly ignore her female employees, right? Lu Mingyu bitterly smiled as she shook her head. From the moment I entered the company, I have gotten best performance in the PR department every year for these few years. Suspicion and jealousy from others is something that will definitely exist. Moreover, I have never gone to look for a boyfriend, so it's natural that everybody thought I'm that sort of person. Even if Department Head Ma was gone, there would be others like Department Head Ma that come. Rather than that, why not keep the peace? The sisters in the office trust me, that is enough. I don't want to make everybody worry. With your qualifications, why don't you find a boyfriend? Yang Chen found the crux of the problem. Isn't it so? Such a pretty woman without a taker, which man wouldn't have ideas about her?